doubt about banks or your federated farmers, but our work with the banks is proof positive. Yet the sad truth is that some farmers will exit our industry, as I wrote in the Wall Street Journal last month. That is a part of the business cycle. It's not a calamity as some predict. It's not New Zealand's version of subprime. Farmers are real, and what they produce is real, and importantly, in demand. Subprime was financial alchemy that did turn lead into gold, except it was fool's gold. For the farmers out there under stress, there is nothing to fear but fear itself. I ask you to talk to your advisors, and above all, your friends and your family, and people you trust. I recall the 80s, when the sky seemed to be falling in. In the 80s, that led to the rash comment that our industry was dying. Mark Twain would probably reply that the rumours of agricultural death have been greatly exaggerated. We will, as always, get through this period of adjustment. Some farmers will exit, as they did in the 1980s, only to come back wiser and stronger. To those who are hurting, I say again, talk about it with the people you trust and the expertise that exists in our communities. Farmers are high achievers, and when things don't go to plan, we revert to a stoicism that is fundamentally unhealthy. While things may seem bleak right now, remember any sunset is always followed by a sunrise. The critical thing is to talk honestly and openly. We are your mates, and mates look after mates in good times and in bad. The fact we will get through should be promoted loud and clear to our trading partners. New Zealand farmers aren't holding up the big and bold, looking for taxpayer subsidies to protect them from the market. We are, after all, business people, something the farmers of the United States and Europe need to be reminded of. To do this means promoting our response in contrast to theirs. I'm full of praise for the work the Honourable Tim Grosser and his predecessors, the Honourable Phil Goff and the Honourable Jim Sutton, and their predecessors even, did. We need to up the rhetoric to get change, the real change we need. Change there will be as neither the United States nor Europe can afford the mounting costs of saving inefficient farmers from the market. It's an open door that we must push through. That requires a body to take on the US and the EU farm lobbies head to head. Diplomacy will succeed, but the noise from the US and the EU farm lobbies reduces its effect. Federated Farmer stands ready, as we showed in the Wall Street Journal, to tackle these lobbies head on. I can report that feedback from the US has been positive. There are real farmers and Wall Street farmers, and the real farmers recognise subsidies to be the poison it is. The prize we're angling for is breathtaking. Agricultural subsidies distort world trade to the tune of $500 billion a year, each year. That's a phenomenal sum I find hard to comprehend. It's an economic game breaker. Cracking that open, the OECD ladder. It's been elusive, but we're getting there inch by inch, closer as the Cairns Group meeting in Bali showed. We must also have our political leaders tell and retell our subsidy story to New Zealanders. A story that may have been forgotten, and many have forgotten. It needs to be told in our schools and in our communities. It needs to be in our textbooks, and it needs to be in song, perhaps. New Zealand's fame overseas is not from being anti-nuclear, it's from being anti-subsidy. We had a big hand in American 2020 last October on this very issue. It's a shame, a real shame, that it has never been shown here, that program. The fringe lobbyists are now claiming farmers receive a subsidy from the environment. Well, I have a definition of sustainability. That's the ability to do something indefinitely. Farming over thousands of years is the living embodiment of sustainability. Not too many human activities can make such a claim. The fringe lobbyists argue that farmers need to pay for the share of the environment we supposedly affect. I have another radical response. Of course we affect the environment. You don't account for $25 billion in exports, 64% of everything New Zealand sells to pay away in the world, without having some effect. The fringe lobbyists' confused logic misses two important points. Is the effect proportionate? And why do we farmers farm in the first place? Do farms account for 64% of all environmental effect? No, we don't. Not even close. Even under the fastball calculations of the emissions trading scheme, agriculture accounts for less than half of 1% of New Zealand's emissions. In world terms, that's 0.1%. We've done some work that shows we can feed some 1% of the world. That's an efficiency ratio of 10 to 1. New Zealand is often held up as the world's social laboratory, but we farmers and the national economy are not lab rats. It was said if we didn't jump on the global warming bandwagon, we'd become an international pariah, a trade leper. Well, Denmark has kept its farm animals out of its response. Canada has just, given up trying. After a lot of PR buzz, Australia is deferring to the current global climate crisis until after 2013. The United States too has made a lot of noise about it, and that's about it. Federated Farmers' bottom line is this: primary food production sustains life. The basics of sustaining life have no role in any emissions trading scheme, period. That does not mean a free ride for agriculture. Farmers would pay through fuel, electricity, building materials, fertiliser, and the many other farm inputs we consume. What we're seeking is an end to the biological calculation nonsense. It's really baffling how New Zealand's biggest carbon sink is emitted. That sink is the 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone surrounding our country. You may not know it, but we have the fourth largest such zone on Earth. It's a massive carbon sink, but counts for absolutely nothing in the calculations. So rather than clean and green, how about being pastoral and pure? After all, our tourism sector is quick to capitalise upon the pastoral imagery of New Zealand. The fringe lobbyists are quick to castigate farming, but omit the many effects humans have upon the environment. Since 1994, the national dairy herd has increased by 34% to 5.6 million animals. Yet in stock unit terms, the number of farm animals is down 7% in total. Since 1994, the human population of New Zealand has increased by 6%, the equivalent of almost 2 Hamiltons. Each of the 250,000 humans will consume a lot more of the environment than cattle. Each human has to be clothed, fed, educated, and housed. As they grow older, they will go on trips overseas in aircraft manufactured from aluminium and composites, not to mention fuel. When they fall sick, they will need medicines in hospital constructed of materials from the environment, not to mention the factories that manufacture those medicines. If they purchase a Toyota Prius, they will consume materials mined, refined, manufactured, and transported from around the world. And how about DVD players, laptop computers, and iPods? Not too many farm animals need these. The real inconvenient truth is that human beings are not exactly environmentally neutral. We cannot be. Being environmentally neutral is subsistence living. The sooner we look in the mirror, the better. Farmers are not the mechanism for Liberals to knock in order for them to feel better about themselves or morally superior. That really begs the question of why we do farm them. Could it be to sustain the 4.3 million human beings who call